Have you ever witnessed that perfect moment when someone's judgment completely backfires? This story will leave you speechless. If you've ever been underestimated or dismissed, you'll want to stay until the very end. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible true stories of unexpected twists and human connection. Ryan Sullivan clutched his 7-year-old son Ethan's hand as they navigated the chaos of Liberty International Airport. The January snowstorm had thrown the entire East Coast into disarray, with cancellations lighting up the departure boards like Christmas trees. Ryan checked his watch again. They had less than 24 hours to make it to Baltimore for Ethan's specialized treatment consultation. "Dad, are we still going to see Dr. Winters tomorrow?" Ethan asked, his voice small beneath the noise of frustrated travelers. His glasses slipped down his nose, and Ryan gently pushed them back up. "Absolutely, buddy. We just need a new plan," Ryan assured him, though uncertainty gnawed at his stomach. They'd waited 4 months for this appointment with one of the country's leading pediatric neurologists. At 38, Ryan had been raising Ethan alone since his wife Jennifer died in a car accident 3 years ago. Life had become a delicate balancing act between running his consulting business remotely and managing Ethan's complex medical needs. Today, Ryan looked every bit the exhausted single father, unshaven, wearing a wrinkled Northwestern University sweatshirt and jeans that had seen better days. The customer service line snaked through the terminal, but Ryan spotted a desk with a shorter queue and steered Ethan toward it. Behind the counter sat a woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair pulled into a severe bun. Her name tag read Barbara. "Excuse me," Ryan began politely when it was their turn. "Our flight to Baltimore was cancelled, and my son has a critical medical appointment tomorrow morning. Is there any possibility of getting on another airline or finding alternative transportation?" Barbara's fingers continued clicking on her keyboard, her eyes not bothering to meet Ryan's. "All flights to the Baltimore-Washington area are cancelled until tomorrow evening at the earliest. The storm is expected to intensify overnight." "I understand that," Ryan said, keeping his voice level despite his rising anxiety. "But this appointment is extremely important. It took months to schedule, and my son's treatment plan depends on it. Is there any possibility of a charter flight or perhaps a medical exception?" Barbara finally looked up, her gaze sweeping dismissively over Ryan's disheveled appearance and Ethan's tired face. "Sir, private charters start at around $5,000 per hour, and they're not flying in this weather either." "I'm aware of the costs," Ryan replied. "If there's any possibility, I'd like to explore it." A flash of disbelief crossed Barbara's face. "Right," she said with a barely concealed snort. "The private aviation desk is in Terminal C, but you're wasting your time." "Next." Ryan stood his ground. "Could you please just make a call to check if there are any medical emergency options available?" Barbara's expression hardened. "Sir, I've given you the information. There are other passengers waiting." She gestured to the line behind him. "My son's health is at stake here," Ryan persisted, feeling Ethan's grip tighten on his hand. "I'm simply asking you to make one phone call. Get out of my line." Barbara snapped, her voice sharp enough to turn heads nearby. "You're holding everyone up with unreasonable requests. Now move along before I call security." Ethan pressed against Ryan's side, his small body trembling slightly. The public humiliation stung, but it was the fear in his son's eyes that cut Ryan to the core. "Come on, buddy," he said quietly, leading Ethan away. "We'll figure something out." Once they were out of earshot, Ryan pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Hey, Marcus. It's Ryan. I need to call in that favor." 40 minutes later, father and son sat in an airport cafe sharing a plate of chicken tenders. Ethan's mood had improved with food and the promise of a new plan, though exhaustion still shadowed his young face. Ryan's phone buzzed with a text, "Landed. Terminal C, Hangar 7. Ready for a surprise, kiddo?" Ryan asked, helping Ethan into his coat. They made their way to Terminal C, passing through the premium travel section where first-class and private travelers checked in. As they approached the private aviation desk, Ryan spotted Barbara speaking with another agent, apparently on her break. Her eyes widened as she recognized them. "Sir, as I explained earlier. I'm just here to meet my pilot," Ryan said calmly. "We have clearance to depart within the hour." Barbara's eyebrows shot up. "Your pilot?" Before Ryan could respond, a man in a crisp pilot's uniform approached. "Mr. Sullivan? I'm Captain Anderson. Your Citation X is prepped and ready. We've received special clearance to depart despite the weather conditions, given the medical nature of your trip." Barbara's mouth fell open. "Thank you, Captain," Ryan replied. "This is my son, Ethan." The pilot knelt down. "Hey there, Ethan. I hear you're quite the brave young man. Would you like to sit in the cockpit before we take off?" Ethan nodded enthusiastically, his earlier distress momentarily forgotten. As they turned to leave, Ryan paused beside Barbara, whose face had flushed with embarrassment. "You know," he said quietly, "appearances can be deceiving. But kindness never is." Barbara stammered, I didn't realize." "I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan." Ryan nodded. "It's not me you should apologize to. It's everyone who comes to your desk needing help." He glanced at Ethan, who was chatting with the pilot. "My son's condition has taught me that life can change in an instant. The least we can do is treat each other with dignity during the hard times." As they walked toward the private hangar, a young airport employee hurried after them. "Mr. Sullivan? I'm Tyler, from Customer Relations. I overheard what happened earlier, and I wanted to apologize on behalf of the airport. Barbara's behavior was completely unacceptable." Ryan smiled at the young man. "Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate that. If there's anything I can do to make your journey more comfortable," he offered. Ryan thought for a moment. "Actually, there is. There's a family back there, a mother with 2 teenagers. Their flight was cancelled too. They're trying to get to Baltimore for the father's heart surgery tomorrow. Maybe you could help them find alternatives?" Tyler nodded eagerly. "Of course, sir. I'll see what I can do right away." As they continued toward the hangar, Ethan looked up at his father. "Dad, are we really going on a private jet?" Ryan squeezed his hand. "We sure are, buddy." "Is it because we're rich?" he asked innocently. Ryan stopped and knelt down to his level. "No, Ethan. It's because we're fortunate. And when you're fortunate, you have a responsibility to help others when you can." Ethan considered this, his small face serious. "Like how you told that nice guy to help the other family?" "Exactly like that," Ryan said, his heart swelling with pride. As they approached the sleek jet waiting on the tarmac, Ryan reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The loss of Jennifer, Ethan's diagnosis, the years of uncertainty, and through it all, the unexpected blessings that had come their way. His tech consulting firm had grown beyond his expectations, but Ethan had given him something far more valuable: perspective. The snow continued to fall as they boarded the aircraft, but the pilot assured them they would rise above the storm within minutes. Ryan settled Ethan into a comfortable leather seat, helping him buckle in. "Dad? Ethan asked as the engines began to hum. Yes, buddy? That lady at the desk was mean to us because she thought we didn't have money, right? Ryan hesitated, choosing his words carefully. She made assumptions about us based on how we looked. But you know what? Everyone does that sometimes. The important thing is to learn from our mistakes. Do you think she learned? Ryan smiled. I hope so, Ethan. I really hope so. Back in the terminal, Barbara stood at the window, watching the private jet taxi toward the runway. The encounter had shaken her more than she cared to admit. After 22 years working at the airport, she'd developed a thick skin and quick judgment, necessary, she'd always told herself, to deal with the constant demands of frustrated travelers. But something about the quiet dignity of the single father and the trust in his son's eyes had pierced through her defenses. She thought about all the travelers she'd dismissed over the years, the stories she hadn't bothered to hear, the compassion she'd withheld because she'd been too busy, too tired, or too jaded. As the jet took off, disappearing into the snowy sky, Barbara made a silent promise to herself. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow, she would listen first. 4 months later, Ryan and Ethan returned to Liberty International Airport. Ethan's treatment in Baltimore had been successful, and they were traveling back after a follow-up appointment. The terminal was busy as usual, but there was a different energy about the place, or perhaps Ryan simply saw it through different eyes now. As they approached the check-in counter, Ryan was surprised to see Barbara there. She looked up as they approached, and recognition flashed across her face. "Mr. Sullivan," she said, her voice softer than he remembered. "And Ethan. It's good to see you both again." Ryan nodded, a bit wary. "Hello, Barbara. How was your appointment in Baltimore?" she asked, genuinely interested. Ryan blinked in surprise. "It went well, thank you for asking. Ethan's responding to the new treatment." Barbara smiled at Ethan. "I'm very glad to hear that." She handed them their boarding passes. "I've upgraded you both to first class. It's the least I can do." "That's not necessary," Ryan began, but Barbara shook her head. "Please. I want to." She hesitated, then added, "After you left that day, I did a lot of thinking. I've been working here for over 20 years, and somewhere along the way, I forgot why I started this job in the first place, to help people. You reminded me of that." Ryan was touched by her sincerity. "Thank you. That means a lot." As they turned to leave, Barbara called after them. "Mr. Sullivan? There's someone who'd like to say hello, if you have a moment." Ryan turned to see Tyler, the young customer relations employee, approaching with a woman and 2 teenagers, the family he'd mentioned to him 4 months ago. "Ryan, this is Mrs. Martinez and her family," Tyler introduced them. "You asked me to help them that day, remember?" Mrs. Martinez stepped forward, her eyes bright with emotion. "Mr. Sullivan, I wanted to thank you in person. Because of your suggestion, Tyler was able to arrange transportation for us to Baltimore. My husband received his surgery on time, and he's recovering well." Ryan shook her hand, deeply moved. "I'm so glad to hear that. Your kindness that day, when you were dealing with your own problems, it meant everything to us," Mrs. Martinez continued. "It inspired me to start a support group for families dealing with medical emergencies away from home." She handed him a business card for Healing Journeys, a new nonprofit organization. "We help coordinate transportation, accommodations, and emotional support for families who need to travel for medical care. We've already helped 23 families in the past 3 months." Ryan looked at the card, then at Ethan, who was smiling up at him with pride. "This is amazing," he said sincerely. "What you've created will help so many people." As they said their goodbyes and continued toward their gate, Ethan tugged on Ryan's hand. "See, Dad? You were right. The airport lady did learn something." Ryan chuckled. "She wasn't bad, Ethan. Just lost for a while. Sometimes people forget who they really are. And sometimes they need help remembering," Ethan said wisely. Ryan squeezed his hand, marveling at the wisdom that sometimes came from his 7-year-old. "That's exactly right, buddy." As their plane took off later that afternoon, Ryan gazed out at the clearing sky and thought about the chain of events that had unfolded from that snowy day 4 months ago. One moment of humiliation had transformed into something beautiful, not just Barbara's personal growth, but the creation of a resource that would help countless families facing similar struggles. Life had taught Ryan many difficult lessons since Jennifer's death, but perhaps the most important was this: every interaction, no matter how brief or seemingly insignificant, carried the potential for transformation. A harsh word could wound deeply, but kindness, especially in the face of unkindness, could heal and inspire in ways you might never witness. Ethan fell asleep beside him, his small hand still clutching his father's. In his peaceful face, Ryan saw the future, not just his son's future, but the ripple effects of compassion that would continue long after this journey ended. Sometimes, the most powerful response to judgment wasn't proving someone wrong, it was showing them a better way forward. And in that moment of clarity at 30,000 feet, Ryan Sullivan felt a profound sense of gratitude for the difficult path that had led him here, and for the little boy beside him who made every step of that journey worthwhile. If this story touched your heart, remember that kindness costs nothing but can change everything. Like and subscribe for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity and the unexpected ways our lives intersect. Because sometimes, the most meaningful connections begin with a misunderstanding and end with a new perspective that changes everything.